Okay, so we started doing this ring about being a lamplighter, and the discussion the Chassid had with Rebbe Rashab, what this means, and what we concluded was that the Rebbe Rashab, last question that we went through, asked Rebbe Rashab, what do you do if the lamps are in the ocean? Yeah. And Rebbe Rashab said, you take off your clothing, go in the ocean. And we explained the spiritual meaning of this is that someone who is an ocean of Torah means that they're full of Torah, and yet for some reason they're insensitive to the light container. They don't feel Hashem's presence in the Torah. So you can't solve this by just telling this person who is so insensitive another Torah, he's full of Torah. The only way to reach them is the opposite, is by talking from the essence of Hashem. The language of Rashab, to take off your clothing and jump in the ocean. So after all these questions, all this back and forth, the Chassid comes to its final question, which is, and then what we learned today. What do you do if you can't see the lamps? What we discussed earlier. Words what a Chassid is. After Shepach, we should have we should say, hey, Shepach Hashem, our Chassid, after the Rashab answered a second time. This is what a Chassid is, because the Chassid asked again, it sounded like a tall order. You're asking it to speak from the essence of my neshama with such love to someone who is so frigid. So he asked the Rashab, is this indeed a Chassid? And the Rashab had to think about it, because it was really, it is a tall ask. It is a big ask. So after that, Rashab thought about it, said, yes, this is a Chassid, the lights of the lamp even in the ocean. Then the Chassid asked his main question. The Chassid asked his main question to special relevance in the time right before the coming of Mashiach. What do you do if you cannot see the lamps? That's what the Chassid asked. Now that we're going to unpack that question and explain where that question comes from, and how to answer. Bagdam. Why is it you cannot see the lamps? This is because you look at the side, you look at things not head on, not in their core, not in their truth, not in their real depth. You just look at things in a more peripheral way and see things which are more external. You don't look where you need to look. Since you look on the side, when you don't look where you need to look on the side, automatically you see external circumstantial things. You don't see the main thing, you don't see the inside. When you're not looking at the inside, so then you're not going to see what you meant to see. But this seems like this. Because the Zohar says that, actually the Rambam, that was the Zohar. Oh, yeah. The Rambam says, talking about the atmosphere and the layers of the atmosphere, the Rambam writes that it's like the shell of an onion, like the peel of an onion. Just like an onion is made with one layer beneath another layer should one peel upon another peel. The only deepest thing is the main thing. This is there. The Zohar says a similar concept. The Zohar says that Hashem made the world in a way that there's one thing which is more inner than the other, and there are things which are just more external compared to the deeper layer. There's something which is you look at it and you say, oh, this is the depth of this thing, but that's only the depth compared to the more superficial layer. That's still external compared to a deeper layer. That's how Hashem built the world. There are deeper and deeper layers of the world. That's what the Rambam means in a deeper level when he says the world's like an onion. And that's what the Zohar means when it says there's something which is the internal of the layer before, and that itself has something internal more than that. So it goes deeper and deeper, each layer upon layer. Commotion of Dusha. Kolyam Shabail Mihim to some champagne of Dusha. After the this is the way it is in the realm of holiness. And the whole point of the creation of the world is to make the world a home for Hashem. Make the world a mikdash, holy place. So Hashem also made holiness in a way also that there's a layer within a layer, there's something which is holy, but compared to a deeper layer, it's not as holy, not considered holy. As the Kedushas and the Mishnah says, there are 10 levels of holiness. Israel is holier than all their lands. But that's not as holy as Mishnah continues, talks about Yerushalayim, and within Yerushalayim, the Temple Mount, within the Temple Mount, the Beis Hamikdash, within the base of the Temple Mount, within the Beis Hamikdash, the Kodesh Kodashim. The Mishnah continues and lists levels and levels of holiness. Even though the most external, the whole land of Israel is already holy. Nevertheless, that does not come close to the holiness that is in the Holy of Holies. In the Holy of Holies, you have the ark, you have the rock with which God made the whole world. And there, the Kohen Gadol enters once a year in the holiest day. The holiest person, the holiest day comes to the holiest place. That's the highest level of truth. Next page. The boy in Beis Hamikdash will come into the Beis Hamikdash, and you first reach the Temple Mount. Yes, there are some people which look only at the mountain outside the Beis Hamikdash. In the Shara Sham, and they stay there. Some people come to Yerushalayim and they, wow, what a great place Yerushalayim is, and they don't go further. Huh?
This is such a powerful message for life. Wow. How many times do we learn something really deep?
But look at ourselves. The person is like a whole world, and it's possible to live in like a dark little street inside of you. Not to this God. There could be this places in you, countries in you never even knew about. So this is true about yourself, and it's true that we're heading this through the other people. The guy is talking about shop. I was in the lamps. So they were saying because you're not looking where you need to. And certainly people who are just looking at Israel out to Yerushalayim, they are not getting to the real deepest holiness. They're getting to something holy, but they're not going they're not getting to the innermost level of holiness. And then there are those who say, well, Mashiach will come, Hashem will spread the holiness of Israel outside to all lands. Therefore, all lands have something to them too. So even though it says about the lands outside of Israel that their air is impure and their earth is impure, nevertheless, they have potential to be Israel because Mashiach will come, the whole world will be like Israel. However, but that's only in its potential. Later it will come to fruition, that's the way it's in potential. So what's going on is that we're analyzing when people look at things and how it's possible to look at something and not to go to previous, not to go to the innermost meaning of it. I'd say that. That means instead of looking at the innermost part of something, you look at the outside. If you look at the outside, you only see what's on the outside. You see something which is secondary, not as important. Or tafel, or something which is tafel means something which is meaningless. It's secondary of secondary. We used to make fun of this. Unfortunately, when I was in sixth grade, there was a lady who would always hang around our elementary school, and no one could figure out among us kids what her job was. So we decided she's called the vice principal. And it was this tafel did off.
Once in a
Right. So tafel means secondary and unimportant. Unimportant. So if you look now looking at the main thing, it's possible that something which is secondary or unimportant of unimportant. Like they've actually used this expression regarding a shidduch. That it's possible instead of looking at the main things, trying to find the shidduch, first looks at the secondary or unimportant of unimportant. The layers are eager, and he doesn't look at the main thing. It's possibly looking at the outside of something, the external or superficial part of something, you see the exact opposite of what its real main component is. Because you don't see the potential. You only see what's out there in the front of your eyes. You're looking at something which is the opposite of desire. You're looking at something which is exactly the opposite of what it really is. And therefore, a person can come and say, I don't see a lamp. He sees a world, it's possibly to see terms in the world too. If you don't see anything that can give light to the world around you. He's not embarrassed about it. David Schwartz's son, Marlon, he ran this gym in downtown. David asked him to go visit him from Sullivan. And so, happy birthday, Avi.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, everyone.
Chaim.
Any more coffee, Mr.
Not you.
There's coffee actually outside.
Alright, sorry about that.
There's coffee outside.
Okay. Let me show you what it is.
Have a sorry about that, Mr.
Come and take some,
That's like a diamond in the rough. Yes.
So anyways, I used to go to this gym, ask the parents to go and I had to park it legally to get there. And I said, and I only had a few minutes and he wasn't always interested and whatever. And I said, wait, and he asked me, please go to my son. And today this guy is a King Kong shliach who reaches out to anyone he can to put on film. And he reaches places and people that you never dream of. And so I would, even after coming to Mashiach, I would not have been able to like imagine the kind of change that. Rabbi Shab was saying, why don't you see it? Why don't you see the light in another person? Because you're not looking at the inside, looking at something external. What am I looking at? I'm not looking at his neshama. I'm looking at like he's this guy, he's running 7 gyms and he's taking care of the Red Bull machine so what do you do? If you only see the outside, you only see the external, you don't see the main thing, what are you supposed to do? Responds, the reason why you cannot see the lamp is because you're not a lamplighter. What does that mean? The fact that you cannot see a lamp is because you've shaken from yourself the responsibility of lamplighting. You said to yourself, I'm not doing this. This is not for me. That's the reason why you do not see the lamp, because you've shaken from yourself the responsibility. You said to yourself, I am not into this, I'm not doing this, it's not for me. And because you said it to yourself, therefore, Hashem doesn't show you the lamp of the other person. What this means is, and a Jew sees or hears something, Baal Shem Tov says, it's a message for you in your service of Hashem. Whatever God created the world has purpose. So why should Hashem show me the lamp in someone else when I'm not going to do anything about it? So why should Hashem show me that there is going to be a lamp, that there is a lamp, another person, I can light it when I have decided I'm not to do this. It's better that I don't see it in the first place than to see it and to ignore it. Hashem deliberately doesn't show it to me because I am not interested in my responsibility of lighting up their lamp. If I would be interested in the responsibility of seeing their lamp and of lighting their lamp, then Hashem would show me their refinement and the purity of the other person and how to reach it. But because I have said to myself, I'm not a lamplighter, I'm not interested, or I've said more, Rash says this way. Rash says, there's Timtum Alev, there's Timtum Amelech. Timtum Alev means, Rash says, I want. Timtum Amelech means I need. your brain could be plugged up or your heart could be plugged up. Your heart could be plugged up means that your heart's not in the right place and you do things you shouldn't do because your heart says, I don't want to do the right thing. And you listen to your heart. You listen to your heart listen. Your brain being plugged up means that you think it's impossible. You think the right thing is impossible. In your mind also, there's no room for the possibility of doing the right thing. I think what they're saying over here is the guy doesn't see or find the other person. He is looking at things externally. He's not seeing anything deeper. And because of that, he rejects this whole role of lamplighter because he says there's nothing to light up. And so there's a few components working against him in himself that prevent him from seeing the lamp the other person. Number one is that he's not so refined. Okay. Because he's not so refined, then he sees another person also not refined. Because once this village of Tzaddik, who one of his Hasidim brought someone who wasn't a Chassid to see him, and the guy was, and this non-Chassid was so impressed, and the Chassid asked his friend, what did you see in my Rebbe? He said, I saw your Rebbe at the Kohen Gadol. So the Chassid didn't look at his Rebbe at the Kohen Gadol. He asked his Rebbe, how come I can't see the Kohen Gadol? So the Rebbe responded, you are looking with your body, you see body. You look with body, you try to touch something with your body, or you touch his body. This guy, the Rebbe Rashad is speaking to, which is not just speaking to him, but speaking to each of us, why can't I see the lamps? And I'm missing refinement to myself. And because I'm missing refinement, I think there's a second stage where you reject this role as lamplighter because you think it's impossible. Because since you can't see the refinement, you can't see the lamp, so you therefore say to yourself, I can't do it. Therefore you like close off the possibility of seeing the potential of other people. But when you accept upon yourself this role, and you see that there's something there, and you know for sure there's something there, and you believe in it, and you dig for it, then the Abishah shows it to you. You can see the lamp in the other person. But let's read further. There's another point which is all connected. Explains further, page 146. What's the reason? How come I can't see it? Where's this coming from? Why would a Jew reject the role of lamplighter? It's a beautiful thing. Why wouldn't you want to be a lamplighter? Rashab said, since you yourself are a course, therefore you see coarseness in others. Someone who is themselves refined is refined in others. Do it based on a physical emotion, a possible Rosech, who brings the consumption to Moshe, to catch up Moshe, and they'll draw you the show of the as he was that the teaching of Moshe and the Pasuk, your evil will pain you. And this is explained by many students of the Moshe that when Moshe would see something negative in another person, Moshe would try to find that same thing in himself. So it's taught that every Jew is a mirror. So you see something negative in someone else, that means you have some way you have that same issue yourself. Which is as the previous episode said about the mental evidence, that when people would come to them to ask to fix a certain issue, they would look in themselves how they had that same issue in themselves. Because without looking at the issue in themselves, they could not find it, they couldn't help the other person. Only when they found that they could identify with the issue in the first place, that they had the same issue, could they try to give advice to someone else in that issue. But only when they first felt that they're in the same boat, could they possibly address the other person's issue. The famous story of the Rebbe Rashab and his brother, they were children, the Chassid and Rebbe. So once they were playing, and Rebbe Rashab was the Chassid, and the older brother was the Rebbe. And the Rebbe Rashab asked his older brother for a tikkun, rectify his soul because he ate walnuts on Shabbos, and the holiday said they shouldn't eat walnuts on Shabbos. So the Talmud told him that they have to, I think he told me at the daven from the Siddur. The Rashab responded, you're not a Rebbe, your advice won't work. So he asked him, how do you know I'm not a Rebbe? Why you say advice won't work? He said, because a Rebbe, before he gives advice, he signs. You didn't sign. In order to give advice to someone else, you have to first feel like you identify the issue. And that's why Alcoholics Anonymous say you can't help once you're also an alcoholic. So when you see the other person, I understand the thing you want in paraphrasing here. When you see coarseness in another person, that's a sign that you have coarseness yourself. It could be that it's a little more refined than you. It could be that the other person is doing things a lot worse than you are. But there must be something in you and that's why you saw this in others. When you start making a calculation about yourself, it says that you see that even while you're learning Torah, even while you're doing mitzvahs, you're unable to remove yourself from your own yeshus, your own sense of self-awareness, and your sense of self, and your in other words, a certain kind of level of arrogance it's not so pure. For example, when you daven as a chazan and you fulfill the commandment of the Torah, honor Hashem from Hoincha. Hoincha means your wealth. The Talmud says, don't just honor Hashem from your wealth. Honor Hashem, the word Hoincha should also be read as your throat. When you daven as a chazan, you want people to hear your prayer and say, what a great prayer. It bothers you if someone isn't happy with you as chazan. And you say it to yourself, because then it'll be God's glory will be deficient. If my prayer isn't good, and God's glory is deficient, then I'll also run my glory because I'm a children of God. And so he is a chazan that will affect the community as well. So too, every person knows themselves that even when they do a mitzvah privately, in a room within a room that no one knows about, no one's around, the Torah sneaks into them and says to them, wouldn't it be a great thing if someone would see you doing this mitzvah? Wouldn't it be a great thing if someone would see how you're davening when you're there, and would see how much reverence you have for Hashem, to see what kind of great person you are? My Zayda told me to say that. Sitting would say when they were davening, they were so aware of their own animals, so Torah. They used to say, "I wish a cat would come. A cat would see me davening." In other words, it wants to be noticed. So if you make a calculation in of your soul and you make a self-reckoning, you will come to the recognition that you may have a whole world of holiness, a whole world of mitzvahs. If the Talmud says that even the sinners of Israel are full of mitzvahs of pomegranate, how much more so says the person me? I'm not a sinner of Israel. However, the Rebbe says your Torah mitzvahs are not nice and eating. They're not good and luminous deeds. And so you're in a situation where things are tuneful, things are dark. And if this is true regarding yourself, how much more so is this regarding someone else? If myself, I was raised by parents who gave me a good education, and I had such a special grandfather, and yet my Torah mitzvahs are not luminous, by another person did not have such a grandfather, did not have such great parents, and he wasn't educated by Torah, by God-fearing people. He was educated by the outside world. Certainly, even if he does Torah and mitzvahs, nevertheless, I would judge them and say, if my Torah mitzvahs are so dark, there's so much selfish motives and how much more so this other person, he couldn't possibly have good and luminous deeds. Therefore, comes to the conclusion that there's nowhere to go with my fire. I can't go and light up someone else because there's no fire, there's no place to go. There's nothing to light. There's no lamp. There's nothing that has any potential. And what's the advice that Rashab says? You have to work on yourself and refine yourself, and automatically that will also impact your surroundings as well. That you will start seeing the refinement in others, and then you'll be able to light up the lamp within yourself and the lamp within others. The Alter Rebbe says in the Maimer of Baal Ischam, on the words, I see that there's a whole golden menorah. The Alter Rebbe says that this refers to the Jewish people. Just like the menorah had 7 candles. So the Alter Rebbe says there are 7 levels of serving Hashem. We'll serve Hashem from love, some people serve Hashem out of fear. And since this is true for the Jewish people as a whole, that there's 7 kinds of ways of serving Hashem, so every Jew has within him all their Jews. And all Jews are responsible for each other. So that means that every single Jew if every Jew has within him a part of all other Jews, that means every Jew has within him 7 candles. That means every Jew has in him the potential to have 7 candles, serving Hashem out of love and fear, and all 7 ways of serving Hashem. The difference is, some people mainly serve Hashem in the area of love, and some people mainly serve Hashem in the area of fear. So this is understood that it's possible that you have 1 candle burning, and yet you have to light up all the 6 candles. And the reason you don't know you have the 6 other candles to light up is because of your own personals. Since you don't know that you're in a situation, in a circumstance that you are in the dark, so you think, oh, I fulfilled my obligation, I lit a candle. And by you think, oh, well, I'm done. What a luminous world, I have 1 candle. You don't realize there are 6 other candles that you need to light. This is what the previous Rebbe, Baal Simcha, of Taamuz, this is the way he taught us. He taught us to demand, he demanded, not only from those who were missing in their performance, who were lacking the performance of biblical commandments. He didn't only demand of those who were missing, lacking in their performance of rabbinic commandments. He didn't only demand of those who were missing in their performance of Jewish customs, but even those who were in a very lofty level, study of Torah and mitzvahs, he also demanded of them that they should have ma'il ma'kodesh, they should go higher and higher. And not only should they go higher and higher in holiness themselves, but also he demanded that we should make an impact on others, to be a lamplighter, to light up another person. Both a person who's missing only 1 candle of the 7 candles, and whether the person is missing only 1 candle, or whether they're missing all 7 candles. This he demanded even from the people who are in a very lofty level, they should get involved in those on the lowest level. And so the request, the commandment of the leader of our generation also empowers all people of our generation. How much more so does it empower those who merited to learn his Torah and to go in his ways, and they should be successful in this effort to spread the Torah, the luminary of Torah, in the dimension of Torah, in a way that this luminary, this inner dimension of Torah should permeate the revealed parts of Torah, the way they should impact their actions, and should make a home for Hashem practically in this world, speedily managed. All right. What's happening?